Welcome to today's workshop. It's January 28th, 2026. Lisa, roll call, please.
Mr. Malloy.
Here.
Mr. Hernandez.
Here.
Mr. Bernard.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, I know we're probably gonna do this tomorrow, but we could start off today's meeting with a moment of silence and a prayer for the Fair Board member that we lost, Mr. Coelho, and for the driver of the snowplow and his family, that our community can heal from this and then move forward from the tragedy that we had the other night.
Okay, Lisa.
Okay, item one is one is to discuss with the minutes of the emergency meeting that we had January 4th in the afternoon. Item two is to dispense with reading the minutes of the workshop and regular meeting that we had last week. Three is to approve the bills. Four, I think we want to skip this.
If we'll wait to see
so-
if Mr. Danzo
here.
comes.
Is that what you'd like to do?
Yes.
Five also is the prosecutor's office. We'll skip that one as well. I will find on some. Items 6 through 9 are permits. 6 is a right of way. 7 special annual supplier fleet permit. 8 special hauling permit to Beverly equipment, and 9 special hauling permit to haul steel coils. Those are the 3 things. Item 10. Trumbull County Transit end of year operating and financial report. We have Mike Salamone here and Diane Jakovic. You have any questions? You want to address that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm starting.
Okay.
Mike Salamone, Trumbull Transit Administrator. Give you a quick report. This is for the year of 2025. So during this time, we did have 2 complaints in December. Total complaints for the year are 7. So in regards to what I've heard in the past, that's great. We only have 7 complaints. So it's not too bad. And we did have 1 incident. In regards to the trips, we did 41,466 trips. In 2025, 2024, we did 40,172 trips. It makes a difference of 1290. So to break this down a little bit, for the seniors, we did 29,286. 65 and older, 2787. 60 to 64 was 2199. Disabled under 60 were 8574. And then CD was 3,606 for a total of 12,180 for the senior. Everything for the same. So we have had a steady increase in trips since 2023 from 36,837 to 41,446. So I mean, that's just showing that we are moving along this transportation. And then the cost per trip actually decreased from last year from 3431 to 3371. The reason for the decrease is, the one vendor that we had, basically did 50% of our trips, actually dropped their price. And another one cut the price is 7. So that's the reason for the decrease, even though we had more trips. Okay. Trumbull County Transit 5310 technical assistance review was closed on December 11th. And there were no updates for the coordination. That's done. That's all I have for mine. I'll give over to Diane.
I have a question.
Actually, if you have any questions, sorry.
When you say trips broken down, you have total senior trips at 29,286.
Yes.
Then you have 65 and older, 27. What's the difference?
Yeah.
60 to 64 population.
What's
They're
that?
separate. There's two different senior populations. There's 60 to 64 and then there's 65 and over. Because ODOT does not.
Right.
The ODOT does not pay for the 60 to 64,
In the total trips, what's included with that?
65 and over and then 60 to 64. So that's the total senior trips.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
And we have to separate that. We have to separate the disabled, we have to separate the boarded DE trips. All for ODOT.
All right, I got that. I just didn't understand what the other. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, just Mike, Diane in her presentation previously, I don't know if it was a year ago, 2 years ago, said that our senior population is gonna peak in 2030 and then it'll start going down. So does that mean with these
Not.
increased number of trips, is a lot of that due to just more people qualifying that hitting that 65 and older in our community?
Definitely. I mean, we have 3,200 applications in our system. And I put in 2 to 3 more a day. Every day I'm putting in. So yeah, it's just population's getting old. I had one today. She turned 60 in October. And I'll be sending one out. So the answer to your question, yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay. And people that are already in our system, do they mostly schedule direct with the provider?
They're all scheduled direct with the board providers.
Gotcha.
Yes, I mean, yeah, sometimes they do call me, but we always put one of the providers. And like I said, the one provider that's doing the most trips is company paramedics. Any other questions?
So the spreadsheet that I gave you just breaks down the total trip and cost. Oh, Diane Dracovic, Senior Levy Administrator. What I want you to pay attention to is the last 2 boxes on that long report. The net remaining dollars right now, our local commitment that we have. With the grant, we still have money left over from our local match. So of $750,000, we spent $645,000, leaving $105,000. Same with disabled, same with the Board of DD. On the sales tax transfer that's being transferred every year for the local match grant, I am tracking how much we are accumulating that's sitting in senior levy that really is for the under 60 crowd, the disabled. So I am tracking that. I'm forecasting that because we have our local match already promised in grants for 2026 and 2027, for the 2028, you may not need to commit as much towards transportation. So I'm just looking at Shara because she and I are the ones that do that transfer every year. So I am tracking how much is on the table. Right now, there's $97,000 in there. So for 2028, we may not need any commitment at that point, but depending on the demand as well. The last column, if we didn't have a grant at all, which the grant from ODOT's not guaranteed, senior levy would need to put in another $750,000 on top of the another $250,000 on top of the $750,000. The sales tax, we would need to put in another $70,000, and Board of DD is still under their committed dollar amount. They're staying within budget. So that grant is very important that we get that. I don't know what changes when we have a new transit administrator, if we have one or what we're doing, but the effects of that grant, depending on what you decide to do with our retiring transit administrator this year. It's important to know what we need to have in place in order to get that grant as far as the oversight goes. Any questions?
No, Mike, you did say that you were gonna make sure that that grant was put in and that we applied for it and everything, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Even though you were retired.
Right, the President grant has been applied for. I think we're finding something out in May or June. This was with the timeline.
That'll cover us through mid-2027. Through June of 2027.
Sometime in May or June, in fact. There's supposed to be a 53-ton retreat in May. Now, I'm gonna guess at that retreat, they'll probably let us know who has money. But that's usually what they do is they do the retreat and they explain to you. Prior to the application.
Questions? Is that short enough here? Okay.
Sorry, did you want me to speak this after this meeting?
Yeah, so he didn't get the email in time, so he just was asked.
I gotta run back to
Stuff.
to come
And
back.
I'll come right back, so
I'll do that, no problem.
we'll allow that.
Okay. The weather was better.
Commissioner, what time do you want to start that? So we give them a little bit of leeway.
You wanna start at 1?
I could do 12:30, 1, whatever you want.
How about 12?
I'll be back at 12:30.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mike.
No, you're not rushing there, Mike.
Thank you, I appreciate that. That's so much. I'll be back at 12:30.
Okay. Yeah, take your time, don't rush into the record.
Okay. So commissioners, you want to circle back to 4 and 5? Prosecutor's office.
Mr. Hansel?
Good morning, Bill Danzo, Prosecutor's Office. Before I'll make this easy, we're gonna strike that for now. I had an email from the engineer's office that said that they're willing to wait on this until the Attorney General's opinion that we're gonna seek is back. Just like the auditor's office, of course, they're going to be able to participate in what we put into that request to the Attorney General so that we can hopefully come up with a request for opinion that nails this down in every way that it needs to be to avoid any future issues, hopefully. So that being said, number 4 is going to be off the table for now. We're gonna keep working on that opinion request, hopefully get it out very soon so that we can get that opinion back soon and try to resolve this matter. This, if that doesn't work, this obviously is something that may come back to the agenda, but we hope it doesn't.
Okay, we received a packet, the commissioners, and we glanced at it this morning. We haven't had a lot of time to digest it. Have you seen that packet?
I don't believe I've seen it.
I think it came from the engineer's office with an attorney general's opinion in there.
Okay,
Older though,
okay.
like 2019, I believe it was, correct? Or
Yes, right,
Okay, I think that's the Attorney General's opinion that sort of set this off then, yeah.
right.
So we're gonna review all of that.
So have you seen documents that's in there?
I know that I've had some documents come from Gary Teneri and the engineer's other staff out there. I don't know if it's this particular packet or not. I'd have to double check to make sure it's the same.
Because I'm just wondering, we're gonna get a different opinion? You think it'll be the same opinion or?
So the opinion from 2019 doesn't really answer this particular question. That's the problem. The opinion from 2019 makes it very clear that the tax map department is to be controlled, operated under the engineer, not the auditor. It also says specifically that the role of tax map draftsman salaries need to be funded by the general fund and not any other fund. Where it doesn't make anything more clear, unfortunately, is that dividing line of what those duties are. What exactly is tax map drafting versus what is the auditor's other function that is not related to tax map drafting, but still implicates the use of the GIS mapping system. Things that are maybe outside of the scope, arguably, of what the engineer's office does. So that's where that opinion doesn't give us any clarity on that. The statute lists a few things that for sure are included in the tax map for the county, but it's not an exhaustive list, and it's not really clear where that dividing line is. And that seems to be the main point of contention right now.
Mr. Chairman, being we're coming up on budgets, we're coming up to set budgets. So is it our interpretation or our understanding that until this opinion comes back, these employees are still being paid the old way under the auditor's budget under RHA or REA? During the interim, can't have it both ways. Can't have us pay the employee as the law tells us to do, but the employees not be underneath the engineer as the law tells us to do.
Well-
So until that happens, I would say it should be business as usual and continue to break the law on her end until it's done differently, in our opinion. We shouldn't pay for these people until they're actually in compliance with the law.
And I understand what you mean on that, but in 2025 budget year, those employees were paid out of the general fund to satisfy the Attorney General's opinion. Rather, even though they were still not technically under the control.
Right, but it's still not, that's not in compliance. So
Well-
why are we complying, but they're not?
Well, I
They
guess the
shouldn't do
answer
that.
would be, it's probably better to comply than not, because we know that is a statutory mandate that it's paid out of the general fund. The other thing that I would caution you on is that already was an audit finding last year on our, I guess it was not technically an audit finding, it was in the management letter for the county that we needed to stop doing that from the REA fund, and we needed to pay from the general fund. And it potentially implicates even a refund back to the REA fund from the general. So I think it's better, in my opinion, audit wise and legally speaking, to probably continue to pay those employees out of the general fund. And hopefully this gets sorted out within the year so that we can solve everything this year.
Only thing I will say, Stephen Jonesy Bush Human Resources Department, it was noted on the management letter, not an audit and not a finding for recovery, but it indeed was noted in the 2024 audit that we needed to, hopefully get into compliance. And typically, as long as we're working on trying to get into compliance, then we don't get a actual finding for recovery. So it might get to that, but at least the commissioners have taken a step forward to address what portion you could. And then the rest will fall from there. So,
If they're being paid out of general fund right now, they should remain that way.
yeah.
Because it's according to ORC, that's what we're supposed to do. So it should stay that way. I do have a different opinion on what has been suggested that we refund REA. I do have a different opinion on that. I don't think until this is settled, there should be no discussion on that whatsoever.
Right, so you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't,
Well, that's.
I'm gonna control it, but you pay for it. We're half in compliance with the law. It's gotta be clear cut and better than that.
Well, that goes back to my original question in 2019. How did it get out of the county engineer's office into the auditor's office? No one has still given me an explanation. Was it by resolution? Did it
It
just
was.
happen?
It was by resolution.
Did we have a copy of that from your
Yes.
time?
I have it.
I mean, how could you pass a resolution knowing that you weren't in compliance with the Ohio revised vote?
Bill Danso, prosecutor's office again. All I will say to that is I believe that happened in June of 2000, maybe. So it was before I was here.
It was prior to Adrian as well.
Okay. So, it was a while back. I can't answer that other than to say it appears from what I've heard from other places, we were not the only county that did that back then. And I suspect it had something to do with the auditor's office being in control of IT. And at the time, GIS was pretty new to a lot of these counties, and it kind of was more of a computerized system. And maybe there was a thought that it's just better if IT and the auditor's office handle it all. In hindsight, again, according to that 2019 opinion, it shouldn't have been done. But for whatever reason, that was it appears to be a somewhat common practice that happened back in that, early 2000s era.
Common practice that was wrong.
That's what we've come to learn.
Well, all I've got to say about it is that before we get to the point of hiring attorney commissioners, we should contact the auditor with the engineer and have a meeting. And if she would refuse to do that, then shamefully, it would cost the taxpayers money. We should be able to work united together to be able to come to a resolution prior to hiring attorneys, spending all this money to go to, to represent both the engineer and then the auditor. So I can
agree
make that call. And if if you would like, I can make that call and get this arranged so that we,
I agree with you, but I think before we do that, I think we need something from the Attorney General's office
Sure.
with a little bit more. bite.
yeah, we did discuss it. We did discuss it.
I would not want to approve myself funding for attorney for either party, either the auditor or the engineer. And I would also ask Administrative Judge Rice not to approve allowing counsel to be done until we get them in a room together and have a meeting, you know, like adults. We get into a room, lock the door, do it the old fashioned way. Nobody gets out till we have a deal. This is in the best interest of the taxpayers to do that. And this legal thing back and forth stuff, we have enough of that in this
Well,
county.
if all three commissioners are there, we probably have to have an open meeting, doesn't it? You know, we can't.
The
I have no
commissioners,
problem with that.
Yeah.
But I have no problem with that. I'm just
I
saying,
mean, well, we can't just get in the room and lock the door though. So.
we'll lock the media in with us.
Well, I will be committed after we make that, after the Attorney General sends us the opinion. I will personally make a call to the auditor. If the commissioners would like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and I will ask her kindly because I know that the engineer is on board. I've already talked to David. He said, listen, if arrange it and let's get it together and let's make this happen. And then after that, we'll look at the employment situation as to how, that needs to be.
How long do you think it's going to be before we get an opinion back?
we haven't done one for a while in our county from the Attorney General. For a while, it was running 6 months or so to get an opinion. There have been some that they have been able to turn around a little bit quicker, though, in my experience, and there have been sometimes an option, instead of a formal published Attorney General's opinion, we sometimes get an offer back that if we're okay with kind of getting an informal opinion, that they can process those more quickly. So that's something that, I guess if we get that offer, that's something that we'll discuss with the engineer, with the auditor, and even maybe with you guys to find out, do we want to save some time with an informal opinion, or do we want to go all the way and just get the formal published opinion from them? Until we talk to them, until we send a letter of request over, we won't really know whether that's an option. So I'll have to just keep in touch with you guys.
6 months.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
It's a long period of time, 6 months. I know David would like to get that done a lot sooner if we can.
What do you advise? Have a meeting before or have a meeting? Do we wait?
I mean, I will put it this way. I have no objection to a meeting to try to get everybody together to do this, to solve this by agreement. That's going to be the quickest way if it can happen. If it can't, the next quickest way and the most efficient way is probably waiting for the Attorney General's opinion. Now, that being said, I don't know what flexibility either party has here in meeting. Again, is it going to be a fruitful meeting? I don't know. That's going to be up to what their willingness to compromise and negotiate is. So, I wouldn't have any problem if you want to try to have a meeting ahead of the Attorney General's opinion. But if not, maybe we, or even if that's not successful, maybe then we have another one after the opinion comes out. It's really kind of however you guys think that you can help that process along.
I would agree with that. I'll make that call.
Anyway,
If you agree with it, I mean,
make the call.
yeah.
If they include the prosecutor's office with it.
And we won't stop our preparation of the opinion request just in case we have to go there, obviously.
Okay,
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'll do that.
All right, Mr. Danzo.
Number 5, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office again. This is a yearly routine item. All it does is it allows the commissioners to kind of join with us to electronically file a document to keep our equitable sharing agreement active with the federal government. This is something that is rarely used, but we keep it open because essentially if this is a prosecution of a case jointly with the federal government that leads to any sort of forfeiture of money, forfeiture of property, we get a share of that back to the county when that forfeiture would happen. Again, these cases don't come about very often, but we like to keep this account open just in case there is any sort of a criminal case that triggers this forfeiture. Right now, I believe I believe there's about $200 in this account, so it's not. Again, this is not a big a big account or a common thing for us, but again, this is something we do every year just in case.
Okay, so we'll go back to item 11. receive and place on file the December 2025 activity report for the Veteran Service Commission. And I don't, no one is here from there, but we did receive the report. Item 12 is to approve the purchase of a service contract between the Department of Job and Family Services and Guardianship and Protective Services. I don't believe anybody's here from JFS. I didn't even see you back there.
Okay, that's okay.
Do you want to go ahead and address this?
Why not? Why not? Good morning, Shelley Block for Job and Family Services. We're asking for the approval of the Guardianship and Protective Services contract that provides Title 20 services for our protective, adult protective services referrals to JFS. It's based on a unit payment of $58 per hour, billable in quarter-hour increments, not to exceed $33,000. All paid for again by Title 20 funds. No general funds are requested, and the contract goes from October 1st, 2025 to September 31st or 30th of 2026.
Question? Items 13, 14 are sanitary engineers.
Gary Newbrook, Trumbull County Sanitary Engineer, Commissioners, we are at substantial completion for another of our projects. This one is Smithsburg Road. We have to pass this resolution before we can start connecting any houses to it. There are a few of the house people that qualify for the household connections through the SLAP, but it also gives the other people send them letters letting them know that the project is available for connection. Item 14, we have completed receiving qualification statements as advertised for professional design firms for our water and sewer projects for program year 2026. As you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We had 9 firms successfully submit their qualification statements. They're deemed as complete. And for all advertised projects for 2026, they only need to submit a letter of interest in lieu of submitting an entire qualification statement.
That's it for the regular agenda. And we do have Attorney Laura Brzezinski here, Public Defender's Office. I'd like to give you an update.
Thank you, commissioners, everyone. Again, Laura Brzezinski, I'm the director of the Public Defender's Office here in Trumbull County. With me is Patrick Clark, he is our Assistant Director of Trial Services for the Office of the Public Defender. We are coming to you this morning just to provide a mid-contract update and to see if there are any questions that you have as we are beginning to prepare for our contract proposal for the upcoming fiscal year, which would begin July 1st. So as the board may recall, when we came to you last year, what we were looking to do was to transition into more full-time assistant public defenders and marginally away from our contract attorneys. At that time, I believe we had about 24 contract attorneys. We've now reduced that number and have hired 2 new assistant public defenders. We have hired 2 attorneys who have significant criminal law experience, and they are assigned in our municipal courts currently. We have had some challenges in recruiting contract attorneys. We have had 2 contract attorneys who have submitted letters that they have resigned from those contracts or terminated their contracts, and we've not been able to fill them. So the decision to move towards full-time assistant public defenders and away from those contractors was a wise one on your part as far as efficiency and economics for our office. Additionally, one of the new asks that we had this fiscal year was for a social work assistant. This is a new position for us. We are working very diligently to build a social work program, not only in our office, but throughout the entire agency as well. So it did take us a little bit of time to get that social work assistant on board. We did post a number of times, make sure that we got qualified applicants. And we have been able to hire a social work assistant with the appropriate licensure. And we are in the process of developing that social work program. So hope to have even more of an update for you as far as some data when we return to you for our next contract proposal. Is there any questions that you had with regards to locally, our office, or the contract as we currently have, or anything that you would like to perhaps see in the future?
I think that they did they not, when you were here last, the commissioners, we noticed that the state had cut the funding.
So,
What were we, or?
yeah, I was gonna say, Patrick will address a lot of the issues that are impacting all 88 counties across the state, and which reimbursement rate would be those. So.
Commissioner Patrick Clark, Assistant Director of Child Services, would you like me to address that question now, or would you like me to address that?
Like, I think we're all interested in knowing
Yeah.
where we're gonna be.
So the biennial budget that was passed by the General Assembly allows for and supported a reimbursement rate of 82%. We anticipate that 82% lasting for the remainder of the fiscal year. We will have updates for you as we prepare contracts, but we are optimistic about what the reimbursement rate is now. When we had talked to you at our last commission meeting, when we were having our contract signed, the state budget had not been fully completed at that point. We were anticipating an 88% rate. The budget done through the Senate got signed by the executive, and the appropriations that were made by the General Assembly.
Chair Taylor, Commissioner, it jumped our payments significantly, like right out of the gate. It was a little disheartening to have one payment made, and then we were shocked with the rest of the payments coming your way. So it's hard to budget here for that when that's what happens midstream. So it was a little difficult to.
Patrick Clark, Assistant Director of Child Services. I certainly appreciate the frustration that you're sharing right now. When I have a number of updates that come from House Bill 96, which was the budget bill, that I think can address some of those concerns. And I'm happy to go through all of them now and reserve all questions for later. I'm happy to wait until Laura's done talking about local issues, and I put that to you as to how you proceed.
I think I'm finished with my local update unless you've got any questions on our.
I only have one question.
Yes.
How many part-time did you have, and then you went over to full-time?
So we actually don't have any part-time employees. As a state office, we are only permitted under the statute to have full-time employees.
Okay.
So we did have contract attorneys.
Right.
At that point in time, I believe we had 24.
That's contract, and how many do you have regular?
Full-time,
So you hired some previous, which that number went down.
that is correct, yes.
So- My question is that, does that obligates us more when you take them off the contract and we hire them full-time, then we're obligated for that. That's a cost that we have to make sure that we have that in there. Where if we're under contract and we get cut so much, and it's easier to cut than it is if we hire the full-time.
Yeah, I'll let Patrick speak to that.
Commissioner Patrick Clark, Assistant Director of Child Services. The cost of the indigent defense system, I think, need to be looked at system-wide within the county. So we have a contract with the county to provide a public defender office and a number of contractors. If the public defender office and the contractors don't cover the cases in the county, those cases do need to be covered under the Constitution through an assigned counsel system, which is more uncertain in its budgeting in many respects because it's an hourly rate. So the commissioners are still going to be under Chapter 120 of the revised code, required to provide indigent defense services. What the contracting does, what we're seeing with our contract is a greater degree of certainty. You're contracting for a certain number of cases with the public defender office. You're contracting for a certain number of cases with contractors. Anything that's not covered by that contract still would then be covered through an assigned counsel. So I don't know that we can say that transitioning away from contracted cases with the public defender is going to result in cost savings, because there would be additional costs
coming in on a monthly basis through assigned council basis.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Danzo, do you have any questions concerning this? Because I know that there were some questions in the past.
No, Bill Danso, Prosecutor's Office. I don't think I have any questions. I think the root of my question last year was nothing negative toward the Public Defender's Office. I think that they do a great job and they need to perform the function that they do. My only concern last year was that we're put on equal footing when it comes to our budget. And I guess that would stay my request this year too, even though we haven't had that talk yet. But no, I have no other comments for now.
So there are, commissioners, 3 topics I wanted to briefly discuss. One, I wanted to get an update and provide an update on the municipal ordinance contracts. My understanding is that there are municipal ordinance contracts either signed or in the works for 2026 with all municipalities. The reason that that's important is because that contract allows for the reimbursement of defense services in those municipal ordinance cases. That is a matter of revised code. That is not a matter of administrative processes for us. I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that.
We pay the bill to you and then we bill the individual municipalities back. Can we not do that and just make them deal direct with you? Like City of Warren, Lordstown, Girard Court, other places, and let them just deal directly with you instead of us paying them?
That is a deeper conversation. In the absence of a municipal ordinance contract, the obligation to provide representation in municipal ordinance cases does fall to the municipality. There are complications many times. So the commission, the county's obligation is to provide representation for indigent defense, or a system of representation for indigent people in state offenses. When we're dealing with common pleas court, we're dealing almost exclusively with violations of the Ohio Revised Code. Municipalities have to, or have a prosecutorial discretion to charge certain things as either violations of state law or as violations of municipal ordinance. This board continues to have an obligation under the Ohio Revised Code to provide a system of representation for violations of state statute that are prosecuted in municipal courts. It is the municipality's obligation to provide representation as it relates to municipal ordinances. One of the reasons that the revised code has a contracting system that allows for the county to engage with municipalities for a municipal ordinance contract is because there are efficiencies to having one larger system. That's why many places do it. The challenge I would see is, what do you do in a mixed case if there's a revised code violation of a municipal ordinance in the same case? So it's certainly within your purview as a county to decide whether to enter those contracts. We at OPD do not have a position on whether we do so or not, but that is largely a decision for the commission and the municipalities within the contract.
I was just saying, like, when we're trying to bill, we're getting some feedback. They want to know what they're getting billed for. We can't get a breakdown. It's been years trying to find exactly.
There was only one municipality.
I understand that, but if they all decided to
But we
do it at the
discussed
same time, we just need to have some leverage of, then you deal direct with the state, with yourselves.
Well, it's up to
and not with the rest of the
negotiations.
middle person.
It's up to negotiations with the county. If you want to have discussions this year, I suggest that we do. There are some that are way out of, just like Lordstown, I understood. They used to have 3 shifts at Lordstown. They had a lot of traffic incidents, that kind of thing. So I got that. It was not an issue. So we fixed it. The other ones are not, it's not overly high on anybody. The problem is we also have to provide prosecutorial services. So we're getting hit on both sides. We also have to provide 40% of municipal court salaries on different employees. So there's like, we have 3 facets here. It's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot on the county. It's a great burden, but it's something we have to do. We don't have a choice. That is ORC also, that we provide 40% healthcare, 40% of their salaries, 40% of their PERS. I mean, it's, they have budgets here.
Commissioners, the last 2 points that I have to speak to today, I do think address some of the structural challenges that you're talking about. The first is House Bill 96 has a new requirement for commissioners, or for each of the county commissions, to provide what's called a cost projection form to the state public defender on July 1st of 2026. We are going to be sending correspondence about that cost projection form shortly. The message from the state public defender office is help us help you. If we have a clear sense of what expenditures might look like from each of the 88 counties, it gives us a better target when we are going into budget season. One of the challenges with the reimbursement rate and the frustrations that I was hearing is it becomes challenging to predict year over year. It becomes challenging to measure year over year because we have 88 counties budgeting for public indigent defense services in 88 different ways. This will help us standardize that. It will give us a clear sense of what the overall system costs are, and it will allow us to help you. When that form comes, we are happy to be of technical assistance. We're happy to consult, but spending time with that form will certainly benefit all of us as we try to have a better sense of what the system-wide costs are. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that indigent defense cost projection.
Get that.
Send us the form, we're gonna see what questions are asked.
The
Try to get that information. Couldn't seem to get it.
It's very general. It's not very specific, and I think that's the issue. That's why we don't have a set of good numbers. We don't have a set of good numbers when it comes to the municipal court budgets. It's a lot. The county is spending a lot on municipal. And we don't have a choice to do it, but there are some things that we can, like prosecutorial services. There's one in particular that I would like to address. You know, it's a little bit askew where everyone else is. So there's some things that we can work through. Trying to get a budget is the biggest thing. We're trying to maintain to where we can project what the needs are going to be. And it's just been, it's been a challenge.
I can imagine. But this form will have, I anticipate, between 10 and 12 questions. It's going to look at some past data. It's going to look at some future projections. Laura Berzonsky and I are happy to be resources to the county.
I will believe that, sure.
The last piece of House Bill 96 that I wanted to alert the county of is that there was a requirement by the General Assembly that the auditor of state conduct a performance audit of indigent defense systems across the state of Ohio. What that entails is looking at every one of the delivery models for public defense in the state, which include fully assigned counsel systems. Those are systems where the judge will ask a local private attorney to take a case and is paid an hourly rate. It also includes nonprofit organizations that contract with the county to provide indigent defense services, county public defenders that are county employees, and finally contracts with the state. So there's 4 different models that are being tested. The auditor of state is going to be speaking with, we anticipate, at least 5 counties. We do not know which counties they will be enacted. But the reason that this performance audit is being conducted is to look at the efficiencies with each model and provide recommendations for how to more efficiently provide indigent defense services. If Trumbull County is contacted by the auditor's office, we wanted you to know that this performance audit is a statewide project and is part of the budget. I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. On those last 2 points, I think that they speak directly to the concerns I'm hearing about budget planning. If we're looking at efficiencies and if we're using a cost projection form to better calculate statewide costs, we hope to be able to partner with you to address some of those budget concerns. And the more information we have from those processes, the more we can actually accomplish those goals. Thank you.
If we get chosen.
We'll see
Thank you.
next year.
Couple of months.
Months, okay.
That'll be, they'll probably eventually. Maybe
Usually
May.
next.
I anticipate April, May.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that's everything on the agenda, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
I see Mr. Malloy's
Chomping at the bit here to take the lid off of something, and this is gonna be big for us. Mr. Chairman, as I make my way throughout the county, and I know you do too, I know Commissioner, you ran on this. I ran on this a little bit. Commissioner, you did when we were out there meeting with constituents. The increase in taxes has been a big issue. The reevaluation, which caused a lot of grief for homeowners, doesn't sit well with the taxpayers in our county. You couple that with rising electric bills, rising utility bills that are beyond our control. There's very little a commissioner can do to ease the burden of taxes. The state puts these taxes on us. They redid the evaluations from the state level, and people's taxes went up, and I don't see where we're the benefactor of any of this. At least no one showed me concrete that how the county is benefiting from what the state imposes on us every 6 years. And we see now our Representative Dave Thomas, he's had 6 or 7 different bills out there on the state level to help alleviate the burden with citizens. There's referendum people out there trying to eliminate taxes because of this, because people are taxed off on all this stuff. So there's a movement afoot with 14 counties in the state of Ohio that have already done this. And I'm going to start the ball rolling on this. One of them is the homestead tax exemption. We have that right now already on the state level, where the state allows us to have a homestead tax exemption, 2.5%. We're basically for people that qualify 65 years of age and older. It's for seniors that own their home, for disabled veterans, and for families of those killed in the line of duty, police officers and such. There is a homestead exemption where for the disabled, it's the first, I believe, $59,000 of their home they're not taxed on. For seniors, it's the first $29,000 of their home, $28,000. It's going up with House Bill 96 that he referenced earlier, the last budget bill. In that budget bill, the state allowed for county commissioners to match the state's reduction in taxes they have on the homestead exemption. So we can literally double it for our senior citizens, which on the average senior citizen that's under the homestead exemption saves between $350 and $500 a year on their taxes. By doubling it, we can double that amount that the seniors would save. And those are the people I think that need it the most. Those are the staples of the community that have held down the fort for us for economic growth. And those are the people now, some of them that are paying more in taxes on their house than they paid in a mortgage when they built or bought their house in the 60s and 70s. So I would like to move in this direction. Lake County did it. There's a Lake County Commissioner, John Plechnik, that's kind of leading the charge statewide. Lorain County just implemented this. Franklin County and Columbus implemented it. Stark County implemented it. I believe there's 14 of them now that have chosen to go this route and use the county commissioner's authority to double the homestead exemption. Now, it is a controversial. This isn't candy and roses and rainbows for everybody, because it will make us collect less money. But at the same time, what the other counties are doing is, in cooperation with giving tax relief to the people that need it the most, they're spending less also. So they're asking departments like we did. We cut back last year on our spending. I think that's a direction we should continue to go, is less spending on county government and government not being, not supplying everything. The other thing we need to do with this, in my opinion, we just heard again from the state, the state is constantly asking us to provide more and more and more and more. Now we're being asked to fund public defenders more. We thought it was 88%, we're getting it's 82. We're asked to fund a lot of programs that go back to the state. We have a sales tax in this county that's 6.75%. We only get 1% of that. The state gets 5.75% of every tax dollar we collect that goes to the state. Our citizens spend the money in our county, and we're given 5.75% to the state. The state gives us a token 1% they let us keep here for a general fund. So I think we need to join up with some of the other commissioners too that are telling the state, give us more of our sales tax money back. Don't make us raise taxes. Cut some of your state spending, some of your state programs, some of your stadium builds and your $1 billion counts and $100 million counts you have sitting in Columbus, and let the counties keep more of the money that we earn. In Trumbull County, we are more of a sales tax county than a property tax county. We have so much retail here that when we look at our general fund, we are more of a sales tax than property tax. Some other counties around us, like Geauga, they don't have much retail. They rely more on property taxes than sales tax. So by us cutting our property tax for these seniors, it isn't going to take a big chunk of our budget away from us. We still have the sales tax, which I think will be even more as more businesses come to this county, as we have growth. This does not exempt businesses. So as we get economic growth, the businesses, the factories, the people that are located here are still going to pay. They're not going to qualify for this exemption. We're going to have a lot more people moving in the county with these jobs. Most of them are going to be the working class that aren't senior citizens. So we're going to get more money from them eventually as they build and move here. So I think the least we can do, and the only thing we can do as commissioners, to follow some of our pledges that we made to the taxpayers when we got in here. If we have an open ear to our constituents, I think this will be well received by the constituency, by the public that we have. This affects, if not them, it affects their parents of their parents' houses, and giving them a little better chance to stay in their home until an old age and not have to sell the home and move into a community or put the burden on the children to take care of their parents at a senior age. So I would like to ask the auditor to provide us with details in upcoming weeks of exactly how much we get from homestead exemption, how it would affect us if we did add 2.5% of a county match to that. I have copies that I've presented to each of the commissioners and our clerk. The resolution that was adopted in October of 25 by Lake County for the homestead tax exemption. And I've provided emails to each of you on Lorain County that I pulled off the internet on what they did and the responses from their commissioners to do that. With that, House Bill 96 also allows up to 2.5% on real property for owner-occupied homes. That means if someone owns a home in this county, which is probably working class or someone as the age structure gets older, that live in their house, they already get a 2.5% exemption from the state. We could double that also in our county. And if someone owns 5 homes, 6 homes, and they rent, they only qualify as the house that they actually live in. This gives every person that's a homeowner in this county a chance to keep more money in their pocket and less bills either added to their mortgage or when they pay the tax bill at tax time. Again, it means schools, townships, some other people may be affected with less of a budget, but this can easily be done if we do a program in cooperation of spending less and working with the state to reevaluate the structure we're getting back. They're already going to have to do that, and they're already talking of plans of doing that in case property taxes are totally eliminated by a ballot referendum. This is something that I think maybe in advance of that, if we show people we're doing what we can do, that may let people be more aware of how important police and fire services are and roads in their townships, that they will not want to eliminate taxes altogether. And they could say, hey, this is fair. We don't mind paying our taxes. We're not going to vote to get rid of them, but we're going to be thankful that you lowered them as much as you can, and you're not going to tax us any more than what we deserve anymore. That was a big shot with the 6-year evaluation for many people in the county that are seeing that on their tax bills right now. None of these things will take effect until 2027. That's just the way it is. They have to apply by October 31st for the homestead, I believe, and for the occupancy, I think it's July. The homestead, they don't have to do anything if they're already on it. If they're new and they want to apply, they have, I believe, October. Then it starts the following year and we tax ahead. So it's something that will be for 2026, but it won't go into effect and it will not affect our budget one bit until 2027. When people start to qualify for it and this goes into effect. So with that, again, I have copies of both of them that were adopted by Lake County and Lorain County. I just want this to be food for thought to start researching this amongst the three of us and to put it on the table. Commissioner Plechnak is available to meet with us to give us an educational seminar on the pros and cons. He does a great speech. Many of us may have already heard it. It's on the internet. If you would Google him, you could see his pitch on how this happened. But I think this is one way and the only way we can lower taxes here in Trumbull County, as many people that I deal with on a daily basis want us to do. Questions, thoughts?
Commissioner, and I know Commissioner Bernard would agree with me. We are all for cutting the property tax to a certain degree within our county here. I do have several questions prior to that, though. One of the main concerns is depending on which we do. You know, you have owner occupancy and you have the homestead exemption. My concern is the schools and my concern is the townships and how they are affected by that cut. Again, not against anybody. I'm one of them. We all pay property taxes here, but we have to be concerned with what it's going to cost the schools, the townships. What does that look like? Are there services? Now, you had mentioned about cutting services here. Where do we cut? I don't know where we cut. We did cut, the budgets were, our budget that we worked with last year. We were working with minimal amount of money to fund these services. Thank God that we didn't have to lay anybody off. Does it get to the point to where we do have to lay off, cut services? Talk to schools, talk to the townships about what this is going to cost them. But again, yes, absolutely for saving the taxpayer money, especially the owner occupancy. I believe when you own your home and you live in it, you should not be double taxed. It's like double taxation at the moment. But another comment that I have, and Commissioner, I don't know if you know this, but what is the sales tax in Lorain? What is the sales tax in Lake counties?
Lake County, same as us.
Are they?
Yes.
Okay. In Lorain?
I don't know Lorain's.
Okay. Because that could have a big impact too. You know, we haven't had a sales, I mean, we're not looking at raising sales tax, but we haven't had a sales tax increase in 21 years, I believe. So, and that's a good thing. But, you know, at some point with inflation, that can have a toll, that can take its toll. So, Commissioner, I'm all about looking at the numbers. Commissioner, Mr. President, I'm all about looking at it and saving the taxpayer property taxes where we can. I just have concerns about to what degree and what depth we go. What does it cost the schools? What does it cost the townships and the county as a whole in general? But you know, to sum it up, I would be in agreement with looking at it and considering a property tax cut.
From what Mr. Plechnik says, if we get the state to just give us back 0.25% instead of taking 5.75 of our money and leaving us with 1, if they just took 5.5 and earmarked that 0.25% back to go to townships or to go to provide services in the townships, that would be enough money to fund what the schools and townships would be losing. So this goes in cooperation of, we're just asking for our own money back.
Yeah,
we're not asking for any more money out of your pocket. We already got the money from the people. Unfortunately, that's the way government works. But if we can get some more of our people's money back or leave more of the money already here, we have no problem.
Will the state do that?
Well, that's we have state reps.
We have to lobby. the
It'd be
state.
pretty unpopular to be a
That would
state
be
rep and not
wonderful.
support.
I'm for that.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
First of all, I think you're really generous. There's a lot on the table here, but I think the first thing we need to do is to send a letter to our state reps, state senator, and I don't want to ask for a 0.25% tax, the sales tax. I want to ask for 1% because the state's sitting down there with $4 billion in their rainy day fund, and we're definitely not getting enough money back here. So first thing we need to do is to send them a letter. I think it should be 1%. If they send us back 1% of our tax dollars, then that would cover some of these deductions, okay? And that needs to be done because they're taking our money and we're not getting enough back. That's the first thing. The second thing is, you're right, I did say that when I was running, that we were gonna do something about medical facilities. I think that's being done with Mercy Health being built in Champion. And that I wanted to do whatever we can for veterans and seniors and reducing their property tax. I agree with you somewhat, and I agree with Commissioner Hernandez somewhat. It's my understanding that the townships and possibly the schools are looking at calling a meeting because they want to talk to the commissioners about the homestead tax reduction. We had a meeting a few months ago with Howland Township, with the townships, and I said then that I think the property tax needs to be rolled back, not completely eliminated. The state's not going to do that. So we're going to have to do something. Right now, I'm for more doing something with the owner occupancy tax because I think that affects everybody. Everybody gets that, okay? And we start with that. We take that from 2.5% to 5%. And that's not as big a hit as the homestead tax is without researching that. It's my understanding that that would cost probably $2.4 million. And what I have from the auditor, I do have some sheets here from the auditor that I got last week. And it's my understanding that with the homestead, it's going to cost an additional $10 million. And well, that's the figures that I'm getting. Okay. So, I mean, we can research that. But anyway, I agree. I think the owner occupancy, I'm for doing that immediately. I've done some research on that. I've been looking at those numbers, and I think that's across the board to everybody. We take that from 2.5 to 5 because the state is not going to reduce taxes. They passed a bill that we could do that. Okay. And they're putting everything on local government. Okay. And the only way that we can help out those on fixed incomes and our veterans and everybody is to pass that owner occupancy tax. I don't see a problem with that. I think we need to do that and we show the people, but I also think that we need to put pressure on the state to give us back more of our tax dollars. You know, we're collecting 6.75 and only getting 1%. If they gave us 1 more percent, we would be home free.
And that's our own money. That's money we raised in our
That's the
county.
money from the residents right here in Trumbull County. We need to get it down, and they don't need $4 billion in their rainy day fund.
Now, I know, Commissioner, we do ask the state for grants for this. We ask for help with the sewers. There are state monies that come out of probably that 5.75% that help things, but there is a lot of waste in state government also. There's a lot of pet projects, and it's been proven some of those pet projects are just ridiculous. And that's something, if we can take care of our own first, is like I said, we're not asking for any of Portage County's money. We don't want any Mahoney County's money. This is our money raised by our citizens buying products from our businesses in our community. We just want more of that. 1% is shameful that when we're out there collecting 6.75 on every purchase. Someone buys a truck in this county, yeah, that's tens of thousands of dollars collectively in a week or one dealership, maybe in a day. Why are we giving 5.75% to the state and then trusting them to spend it wisely?
And then their property taxes keep rising too.
Well, and that's what I'm saying here. Won't be so popular for a state rep that to tell the governor, hey, that my commissioners want to take more of our state's budget, more of our money.
I don't care.
But at the same time,
Do you care? I don't care.
I don't either. I don't care. And that's what I'm saying. At the same time, I would think that state reps would want to fight for their own townships, their own communities, and let's roll the sleeves up and go to battle that let us keep more of our own. This doesn't have to be a political thing. It's a bipartisan issue. It affects everybody, Democrat, Republican alike.
But Commissioner,
But I think we need to start the movement to do that while the money's there. Let's just reevaluate the money that's there. Let us take care of our own before they put their hands in our pocket to build stadiums and things like that outside our area.
the state, they could have cut property taxes. They didn't do it. So they went in and they passed a bill, legislation, putting it back on local government to do that. Okay, so they can say, well, it's up to your county commissioners if they want to do that. So you know what? It's all putting it back on us. All right, and that doesn't bother me. I'll take my responsibility and I'll do what I think's right for the people. But I also think it's time for the state to step up. A lot more of that.
We got a new governor coming in, so this governor has nothing on the line to worry about his own election or anything. He might do the right thing.
And one other thing, I was told that if we did pass the owner occupancy, it would take effect in the fall, in the second half taxes. It didn't have to wait till 2027. Now that's my understanding.
Well, we tax a year in advance, so that it would
We have to
be.
go back, but and that would only be on the levies that were passed since 2013. So those assessments from back then. So I think that's the way to go right now, till we can get all the information, listen to everybody. At least we're showing the residents, hey, we're willing to cut, how we can cut, when we can cut. And I don't have a problem with that.
The reason I
From 2.5 to 5, I have no problem with that.
The reason I looked at Lake County and Lorraine, those are two counties very similar to us. When you look at their population, they're closest in population to any other county in the state to us. They're closest in demographics as far as retail versus property tax variance between the two. And they did it in both of those. They did it unanimously with their commissioners. We're not reinventing the wheel. We've already got a template done on what they're doing, and we can measure their success because right now it's affecting them now. They did this last year, so it's affecting their taxes this year. So we can look at that, learn from that, and from what I've seen so far, I like it. And I think it's something that our people deserve too. That if they can do it for their constituents there, we need to start moving in that direction and do the exploration at least. We got to put one foot in front of the other. I'm not saying do it all tomorrow. But if we could start working on this, get the data and start moving in that direction, I think.
I have all the data I need. I'm ready to move on the owner occupancy right now, tomorrow.
Well, we need our prosecutor involved to look over
I
what was
already
done in
talked to
other
him about
counties
making
and back you on that.
about doing a resolution. I talked to him last week about that. In fact, Commissioner, I was going to bring this up last week and I didn't because you weren't here. So out of respect for you not being there, I didn't bring it up.
No, and we had both talked to Commissioner Fletchnack and got education, and we've both been researching this. So I'm bringing it up today on behalf of us, the board, in cooperation with this. This isn't something just to make sure we don't get it misconstrued. I'm not dropping a bomb on the other two commissioners. We've all been looking in this direction. We've all been trying to commit to this pledge to keep taxes low or lower taxes on what we can do. It's just we finally got the legislation now, the wording. This is somewhat fresh. This is October of 25 when this went into effect. It's just starting in 26 in Lake County and in Lorain County. So we've got a little bit of a template. We got people moving in that direction. And if you listen to the people, this is what the people want. At least this is what the taxpayers are telling me. I'm out there knocking on doors, doing stuff now and going to meetings as you guys are. And this is what we continually hear in meetings is taxes, taxes, taxes. And what are you going to do for us? This is all we can do. We can't go and change state income tax or federal income tax or we can do this. Well, we can adjust with our sales tax, but where are we going to go from there? We can't go down any further and we bankrupt the county. So if we're trying to save the money, these are two steps we can
lower
do.
property tax and turn around and raise sales tax because then we really haven't helped them that much. That's why I think we need to put pressure on the state to give us back more of our our sales tax, and then we also cut the owner off.
But if I had to have one or the other, it would be a sales tax to tax the consumptive users instead of the people that
People
are
want to
barely
see
getting by.
streamlined government, and I'm not sure that they're convinced that we've done all we could do yet.
Right.
Once we
This
get
will
to
be a
that-
step to prove to them
Right.
that we are doing
Well,
what we
and
can
it
do.
proves to them that we realize that they need to cut on their taxes, and we all know that, and we've all said that. So,
Well, I've heard you all talk quite a bit, and Commissioner, I'll chime in real quickly. Listening to Commissioner Malloy, listening to Commissioner Bernard, I too would be on board on the owner occupancy. I think that's something that needs to be done ASAP. I do question the homestead only because I'm concerned, again, with the schools, the townships. Commissioner, you had said that we may even have to probably be confronted by them at a meeting. I think I've heard that as well about the loss of their, whatever that they would lose. So I am concerned about that, but I would concur with Commissioner Bernard, Commissioner, after the prosecutor looks into it, that we do move forward and give the property tax owners, owner occupancy, to give them that additional credit. I would be on board with that.
No, but this has to be in twofold. If we're gonna do this, we need to jump in with the townships to fight on their behalf too, to make sure they don't lose money that are gonna cut their services. We make sure that we go to fight with them and we lead the charge with the state to get them more money back to the townships in some way, shape, or form. In Lake County, they started a township fund out of their regular sales tax where we have all these different fund numbers. They have one to help the townships pay for services that are lost by this also. So they're not abandoning the townships, nor should we. We don't want to rob the townships to do this. We want to go to bat to get more of the state's money back. We want to help the residents, but at the same time, we'll be leading the charge to make sure the townships get taken care of with more state money.
But that's my point. We can't determine what the state's gonna do.
Right.
We can go there and say, hey, listen, we'd like you to cut them another 0.25% or give us another. Commissioner, you had said 1%. The problem is the state may not see it that way. So there's a concern that if they don't, we don't want to put those townships in harm's way.
But we at least have to ask them, and we have to let them know, and then let the taxpayers know also to contact down there and say, look, give us back more of our tax dollars.
I would agree with that.
The taxpayers have to help us on that. Just by us three writing a letter, they're not going to do that. All right. We just need to bring more of our tax dollars back to Trumbull County.
And in addition to that, so that our property tax payers know that when you do receive that new bill, don't pay the full year because you're going to get a credit on that second half. So just pay the second half of that bill.
Absolutely.
Don't pay if you pay the full bill, you're going to see a credit come the second half of this 26 on the second half of this year's bill. So just to notify, we've been told that.
I believe the treasurer's put that in the bills too, recommending to people when he sends the bills out. You might not want to pay the whole bill, just pay half because you're going to get a credit, so you don't want to overpay and have to get a refund later or get a credit next year. So just pay half at a time, so you're not overpaying it too much up front. And I appreciate the treasurer doing that too. That's something he went the extra step to put that in with everybody's bill. And again, that's working again. That's David Thomas and our state reps working to save money for people. It's billions they're saving off of this House Bill 96 and the other 5 bills that Representative Thomas was a part of with Representative Santucci. But this year, we're going to have to squeeze them a little bit too to say, hey, now you got to go tell your bosses. These guys want some of the state money now. They want their hands in the state's pocket instead of the state.
They're the legislators. They can do that.
They can. They represent us. They represent the
When they
state.
pass all these other bills, this should be an easy bill for them to pass.
It's about time we had our hands in the state's pocket instead of the state having their hands in our pockets.
Totally agree with that. That's probably the best thing you've said since I've been here.
Okay.
Yeah, so we all agree on the owner occupancy, and we'll wait for Mr. Danzo to provide us with the proper language.
And the figures and the math, we still would need to,
I
before we vote,
had
need to
most
see
of
that.
that. I had Shara give it for me last week or so,
Okay,
and I have,
so you believe owner occupancy is less of a burden than homestead? I would think there's more senior or less senior owners than there are
absolutely.
owner occupants.
And I've even talked with the treasurer's office, and they believe that too.
I've
Yeah.
talked with others too that have said that.
Because
that's
when-
a big-
it's not gonna
that's a big
affect,
no.
it's not gonna affect the budget as much as the other one will. You know, you're
I would think there would be just more homeowners than there are senior.
It's a percent, because it's based on the value of your home, and there's a lot more into that.
Okay.
Okay, but that helps everybody though. The owner, the homestead only helps.
65 and older,
Right, and
disabled owners.
The owner, it helps everybody, every property owner in Trumbull County, that helps. So everybody gets a share of that. And everybody should.
I think so too. I think so too.
And I
They
think-
earned it, they should
I think
keep.
it's the right step, and again, people want to see government streamlined.
And I've made the comment, Commissioner, in public meetings, and I don't know if it's been since you were there. But because of property taxes and the system we have, the only piece of property any of us actually ever own for life is our cemetery plot. Anything else you own, the state's gonna tax it. Well, the state's gonna tax you. The only thing you're taking with you in perpetuity is that cemetery plot that they can't get their hands
As
in.
long as it's irrevocable.
Yeah, they can't get their hands in the grave and get any more money out of your pocket.
And I like to repeat what I said earlier, we asked the state to repeal, to reduce the property taxes, and, that's gone up the last few years, and they won't do that. This is a kind of a way of doing that. Saying, hey, you know what, the state won't do it, but we're gonna do it. They gave us the legislation to do it. They probably thought that we didn't have enough nerve to do it, but we're gonna show them we do have enough nerve to do it, to help out the citizens of Trumbull County.
That's right.
And I think it might be safe to say too, that if the state would be and reimburse or cut us back more of our sales tax, we may look at the
Oh, absolutely.
homestead and credit that back, because listen, if we're getting it, we're giving it. Get it, give it.
If you had $4 billion sitting in your reserve fund, wouldn't you give some back to somebody? They got $4 billion there, and that's only gonna go up this year.
Yeah. The rainy day fund. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
We had to dip into our rainy day fund to balance the budget last year. They've got $4 billion there. Give it back to the people.
Yeah. We're back to they already took it from the townships. They're just trying to take it from us now, and that's where I said we're gonna flip the script.
I like our state reps, I get along with them, but I think they're wrong on this issue. Give us back our money. Next. That
That's all I have on this. Thank you both.
was it.
Glad we're all in unison on this.
Anybody else? Mr. Danzo?
Nothing.
Gary, nothing? Gary.
Well, I guess we should talk about we want to commend all of our workers that worked on the day when most of us had off yesterday. Our 911 dispatchers were there. Our road workers were there. We had people with the Board of Elections that worked. We had our maintenance department working extremely hard and did a fantastic job. As Commissioner Bernard said this morning when he came in, he said, "You see the sidewalks and stuff out there? I've never seen them look so nice." So they did a great job for all the personnel that had to work yesterday. Thank you on behalf of myself and the whole board, probably, and all of our citizens. I think it was a good call that we made, and I think the employees here understand that, and even the public. There's no title or no piece of paper from a recorder's office or anything that is that important that they should risk their safety to have to drive on the roads to come in during the conditions that we had the last 2 days. So I commend us for having our emergency meeting the other day and doing it the right way. And we made a good decision on behalf of the citizens.
I thank Mr. Danzo, the sheriff, EMA for all coming in here. Also, Alex was here. I think it went very well, and I think we did, what we had to do. We're always gonna, take the side of caution. for the safety of not only the employees, but, you know, for the people in the county. So hopefully we don't have to do that again for a while, but I think you're right, Commissioner. I think we did it the right way. We all came in, we got here, we had probably a 20, almost a 30-minute discussion on it. So we just didn't come in and make a motion and leave. We were here, and I think we did it right. And again, you know, I was on the phone with you most of the day and even on Friday in case we had to do that. So I really appreciate it.
Well, and we were missed the deputies that worked, and not only here, but in the townships, you know, the township road departments, the township EMAs, paramedics, firemen. I mean, they were all out there doing their duty that they had to. That's what they get paid to do. That's inherent with the nature of their job. And we commend them for doing that when the rest of us.
In the engineer's office, you know, they worked yesterday and I talked to the county engineer. He says, you know, we will, because I let him know that we passed the emergency resolution, and he said, my entire staff will be working. He said, that's what we do. Right. And he worked, you know, they worked, the road department worked, and even the office personnel. And I stopped in there yesterday, and I was there for a while, and everybody was working. So, and I think you guys did a pretty good job of getting the roads.
Guys been putting a lot of hours in, yeah, a lot of effort.
How's the equipment holding up?
I don't see anything broken down. It's still going. We'll see when it's all over, when it needs repaired. Getting through.
That's good.
Commissioners, I do have one thing, because even though I wasn't there, but I have heard that the Matthew, our new executive dog warden, his first day was on the worst day of the year. He did report, and commendably, because we do need to take care of those animals. But my understanding is that he is really starting out to do a great job there. So I want to commend the new executive dog warden for being there. I mean, at the worst day that, you know, the worst day that you could conceivably have to work. So.
Well, I was there right after I was there. I think Alex showed
Alex
up.
was there, yeah.
I was there for about 20 minutes, and a young man had nothing but a smile on his face. He was so happy, and I kind of apologized for, you know, the work and people not being there. He said, Commissioner, I dreamed about this job my whole life. And he just and he was there. I think he wanted it, didn't want it that way, but I think he was happy that way because he was out with the animals.
Yeah.
He was getting kind of getting a bond with some of those animals. And he was telling me about a couple of them. I mean, just a smile on his face and just listen to him. I mean, I walked out of there and I just
Oh, good.
I thought, man, it was like, wow, you know what, we really made the right choice. So, yeah.
Happy we got that. Now we
And
move
he
on to the
told me,
assistant.
he told me, he says, I've already got some ideas. So.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
Bring them on.
it's a great choice that the board made, and Alex, you helped us, and and I told him, if you need help, let us know. So, and I'm sure that the dogs out there are gonna feel that love too. As he was really smiling. He was getting ready to go back and take him some more treats, so.
That's good.
Good young man.
Yeah.
I think we've had a productive shop today.
Very good.
Denny's buying lunch for everybody.
Is he?
He always does. Anything else?
Yeah, Gary Newbrow, sanitary engineer. Commissioners, don't forget the water and sewer operators that were working yesterday too.
Sorry.
When this cold is out, there are so many extra precautions they have to take to keep everything flowing and make sure your toilets flushed. They did a hell of a job yesterday.
Yeah, I passed a couple
And
of
it's not the
them.
rest
Was
of the
out
week.
about.
We're at the water plant working when I was at the dog kennel, and I went to 911 and passed more people. So yeah, everybody did their part.
In fact, when I was leaving the dog pound, there was a couple
There
guys.
was coming, yeah.
in.
Huh? We must have just missed each
Yeah,
other.
we did.
Okay, yeah.
They were, so I don't know if they were called out or.
Well, a lot of them were essential, so
They are.
they have to be there.
We had those conversations.
Isn't that a 24-hour facility?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, and we took care of all that Sunday night, so.
Okay.
All right, Commissioner, with that, I guess I make a motion we adjourn.
Second it?
Mr. Malloy,
Yes.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes.
Mr. Bernard.
Yes.